Hello and good afternoon or good Ecuadorian afternoon. This is David Edelstein here for BetterThanBefore.com, talking about relating, communicating, mindfulness, and all of the things that go into helping us relate better to others and ourselves. Um, in the past day or so, the morning questions that I throw up on my page have been just thrilling. Yesterday's in particular, asking people to express their thoughts on whether life is fair or unfair, really attracted a lot of attention and a lot of worthwhile, good thought. What I'm most grateful for in all of the questions I ask is how those who participate, who are generous and thoughtful enough to contribute their thoughts, who are willing to expose their point of view to the potential examination and criticism of others, have all done this in such a spirit of positive community. I haven't seen a single, I've seen comments where people look for more. I've made comments where I look for more from one of the commenters, but I have been spared, and we have all been spared, the kind of nasty, trolling, mean-spirited comments that really impede discussion and contribute nothing to it. I know that the internet is full of this. I'm so thankful that my page is not full of it, and that everyone who has come together to answer these questions has come in a real spirit of generous inquiry rather than blowing their own horn. There is clearly a range of opinion on that life fair or unfair question yesterday. There was a big range of opinion, from fair to totally unfair to within our control, not within our control, to what we make it, to how we react to it. The range of thought was very wide. This is how we learn. This is the only way we can learn, is by asking questions and examining what others give us as responses and what we give ourselves as responses. This episode today, in many ways, is really about mindfulness. When confronting one of these deep questions about life, its purpose, its meaning, the human condition, why we're here, why bad things happen to good people, which came up yesterday, the whys, those deep, really unanswerable. There's no one answer that is the answer when answering these things. So often where we have to start is, examining, what do I believe about this? To even know that with some kind of certainty, what do I believe? We really have to spend some time examining what we believe about these things. Life, fair or unfair, the world needing change or not, the self, does it exist? And why does it exist? These questions require introspection. What is my belief? Where does it come from? Did I learn it? Or did I acquire it by a kind of osmosis process, absorbing it from the kinds of things that my parents, my teachers, my friends said? Where did it come from? Hi, Donna. Where did it come from? Where did this all start happening? What are the roots of this belief? Are the roots of this belief something that somebody really thought through, or just casually tossed out and has become something I've carried with me ever since? That life fair, unfair thing yesterday, so much of that is really beliefs that we absorb without a whole lot of consideration. Hola, Pato. Gracias por visitar. We absorb these things without consideration. Our parents view life a certain way in terms of fairness. It's entirely possible, as many people said yesterday, that you can't look at life in terms of fair or unfair, that those words completely don't apply to life. So there was a huge assumption on my part that you could even apply those words to life. I hadn't really considered that they don't apply, but as people started saying that they didn't, I was like, yeah, that's probably more correct than any thought of mine had been. After all, who's really learning the most here? Who's the grand beneficiary of these questions and their answers? I am. I get to read all of your thoughts. I don't know how many of you read all of the responses. I know very often when I make a response on Facebook, I make my response and then check out of the discussion. Sometimes I look at all the responses. Sometimes I'm fortunate to come in at the end, so I have to look at all the responses before I make mine. But I do urge you that if you contribute to these question responses, that you reap the benefit by returning the next day to see what people have said. It's become a fantastic project. I was advised to start doing this simply to increase engagement on my page, that it was a business practice in which I should engage. I don't know. I can't say that I feel that it's brought me business, but it certainly has brought something to my days that I didn't expect and am deeply grateful for. It's been genuinely enlightening, and I will continue to do this as long as I can. I was a philosophy major in college, as I think I've said before, or as you probably know if you've taken any look at my page. I was not a particularly effective philosophy major. I was interested in this kind of question. And philosophy is really not today, in any case, about this kind of question. It was perhaps several thousand years ago, so I'm a little behind the times. But these questions, whether or not they have an answer, make us consider where we are, where we're going, and what we're trying to do with our lives. I'm certainly not the first person to ask these questions. These questions cannot be copyrighted. But the way that they come to me, I hope indicates that I have the kind of mind that is searching, that is curious. Curiosity is often considered a child's or a young person's trait. So I hope in that sense that I haven't aged out of it. Some of the best philosophy is done by people who are older, even older than I. Socrates, who I guess is my heroic philosophy figure, was an older person. He was accused of corrupting the youth of Athens by asking these questions and showing that the standard answers were not adequate. Certainly that unexamined answers, unmindful answers, you couldn't just throw out an answer to Socrates. He was always respectful, if you read the dialogues. Always respectful, never trolled anybody. But pulled and poked and prodded at their answers until he showed that the answers were not answers at all. Never claimed to have a good answer himself. Maybe that was a bit cowardly on his part. Why don't you throw out an answer and I will rip it apart? But I will not throw out an answer so you can rip it apart. And that, in essence, in many ways, is the philosophy process. To ask questions and show that there is no one answer that works for everyone. There is no one answer to impose. What makes us alive, what makes us minds, is the continual questioning. Maybe almost 40 years after being a philosophy major, well, in fact, more than 40 years after starting to be a philosophy major, maybe I'm finally grown up enough to start asking the questions again, to bring those questions to you. Thanks so much for all of your answers and for the thoughtful, respectful, human way in which you've treated everyone else's answers. It's been wonderful to watch, and I'm going to keep on watching. Thanks so much. Please tune in again. I do this every afternoon, or almost every afternoon. There are occasional mind failures where I don't, but I do this almost every afternoon. And I hope to see you every afternoon. If you've enjoyed this, if you've found any value in it, please do share it around. It's a big help to me. Thanks again. See you tomorrow.